everybody, and welcome to LA Rams Central. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Eric.
Oh my God, flashback. This isn't LA Rams Central anymore. This is Total Football Talk. And yes, we're still Anthony and Eric. Wow. Flashback to a better time. Okay. Now, like 2 months ago. So I want to talk about, we're doing the college show today, guys. We'll do the pro game tomorrow. I just want to say first and foremost that I did pick New England to make the playoffs this year. I did not pick them to beat Miami, but that's okay. I was wrong. We'll go over all that later. As far as this week goes, how good does this quarterback for Notre Dame look, E?
Dude, Ian looks like a breath of fresh air. A fresh of breath air.
Yes, that too.
I swear, I have not been drinking.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Okay, so he's fresh of breath air.
He's injected life into the Notre Dame offense. They look like a legit college football playoff contender.
Yeah.
Ian Book, 24 of 33, 278 yards, 4 touchdowns. That was just his passing numbers. Okay. Yeah. They chopped down a tree, and they didn't leave a sound going in the forest.
Yeah, this week coming up against Virginia Tech is going to be a huge game because I think it's going to really determine what Notre Dame is going to be about. Their defense is outstanding. We know that already, but they needed a quarterback situation, and this is what I like about Ian so far. He has to overcome 2 opponents: the defense on the field and his head coach. And he's managing to do it. So he's making the predictable play calls still function. He's done an outstanding job. And we were ragging on Notre Dame the first 3 weeks saying this team is they're not going anywhere. They're a 3, maybe a 4-loss team with the guy that they had at starting quarterback. Now with Ian, it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah, they have opened up the playbook for Book, and he looks like he is just taken off. Wimbush has actually been demoted to the number 3 quarterback, so he's wearing the headset. He's sending in signals. He's really fallen from grace.
So
but
he
hasn't done what Kelly Bryant has done, the senior quarterback at Clemson. And I can get into that Clemson game here in a little bit when we touch on that one.
Yeah, I'll let you take that one over. But before we get into that, let me ask you a question. Do you think maybe the reason Kelly's play calling had been so vanilla is because Wimbush didn't have the playbook down?
No, I think Wimbush did have the playbook down. I just don't think he executed well enough.
Yeah.
And when you're throwing into double coverage and making errant throws and making rookie mistakes, you have to make change.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of change in college football when it comes to quarterbacks this season alone. This is the most I've seen in all my years of watching college football.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
And I won't hesitate to say that it started with Alabama, the national championship game.
Yeah, I mean that was
where it first was. College football teams change quarterbacks all the time. That's not it's when they do it, how they do it, and some teams have actually taken off and been better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with that. ASU, before we touch on Clemson, a lot of people are looking at ASU going, oh, they fell apart. I mean, I looked at their schedule going into this year, and I thought they were a 2-2 football team. I mean, they could have beaten Washington. And that's the nice thing is they could have won the 2 games that they lost. But this is an 8-win football team, I feel. And I think that Herm Edwards turning this program into an 8-win team. We haven't had 8 wins here in Arizona at ASU in God, what, 4 or 5 seasons?
Seems that way.
I mean, if it's not, you're right. It definitely seems that way. So, I see Herm probably losing 2 more down the stretch, but I think he's going to win more than he loses, and I think we're going to have more than 7 wins this year, and I think he's going to win a bowl game. But I like what ASU has. There's still a lot of holes and a lot of things that they've got to shore up, and they've got to cut the penalties out. But it is what it is.
Well, just to add on that, listen, they lost 2 road games by 7 points each.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will take that any day over getting blown out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason for that is because they're competitive. Yeah, the penalties hurt them when they happen. But it's a young football team with senior leadership at quarterback and a senior wide receiver, so you want to follow in their footsteps. But you're going to have mistakes, and that's perfectly acceptable, especially when you're a first-year head coach.
Yeah.
Okay. Their last game, Wilkins didn't really have to do much. It was the Eno Benjamin show. Okay. He set an Arizona State rushing record almost in the first half by himself.
Yeah.
He finished with 312 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns, 30 carries. He was averaging over 10 yards per carry.
It was old school football, Lee.
It was, and I'm not going to take anything away from Oregon State because, Sun Devils always seem to have problems against Oregon State, whether it's in Corvallis or whether it's in Tempe. And when it's in Tempe, I know that Arizona State's going to put up points. When it's in Corvallis, it's going to be a close game. And the Beavers actually put up 220 yards on offense in the first half alone. It was the most Arizona State's given up in a half this season. Oregon State came to play. Arizona State was just better, and they actually they played a complete game. Like Wilkins missed some throws, which no quarterback's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Very few exceptions, but they didn't turn the ball over. And she was on point. She was on point all game. The defense needed to shore up just a little bit, but when you win by 28 points,
I do want to say one thing. No, you're right about no quarterback being perfect, except for Jared Goff. Okay. Just want to make that clear. Perfect quarterback rating, but we'll get into that tomorrow. I'm just giving you a hard time, E. Look, there's a couple things that I want to mention.
I mean, has he ever thrown 6 touchdowns in a game? Just asking.
Oh, there it is. I was waiting for you to come back with that bomb. No, he capped it at 5, and then you did him one better. So nice job, Trubisky. Okay. I don't think Trubisky threw 6 touchdowns in his entire collegiate career.
Yeah, that'd be hard pressed to find out.
Yeah, but he did only play 5 games. So.
12.
Oh, I'm sorry. He played a full season. Look, there's a few elements here. I hate the Beavers. I mean, the football team. The football team. Shut up. I'm not getting into that. I hate the Oregon State Beavers. That just sounds wrong too. But the bottom line for me is I've never liked them. They've always gotten under my skin. That stupid mascot with the buck teeth that just want to punch it in the mouth. And they always give the Sun Devils a hard time in Corvallis. Like you, I wasn't worried about this one. I'm worried about next year when they go to Corvallis because Oregon State could be 1-10 and they're going to make it a ball game. But it's ASU won a game that they've won 2 games that they were supposed to win. They won 1 game they weren't supposed to win, and they lost a game that it was a 4-5. You pick 'em, anyone could win it, and that's exactly how it went. So I think ASU sitting at their record right now, 3-2. I think they have reason to be very optimistic and pleased with the season overall. Here in Arizona, it's going to come down to the Territorial Cup game. That's going to make or break Herman Edwards' season, regardless of the record and how things unfold. Now, I do want to say one thing. The Maine update. I've been updating you guys on Maine, right? The Black Bears came out of the gate 2-0. Bam, they beat rival New Hampshire, who was a playoff team last year, then beat an FCS school in Eastern Washington, right? I mean, in Eastern Kentucky or Western, whatever. The Hilltoppers, Western Kentucky. But then they go to Central Michigan and lose, and then inexplicably, for the ninth time, they're 0-9-1 against Yale. I don't know what it is with Yale that they can't figure this out. But now they're 2-2. I don't know if Maine is strong enough to win the CAA at this point. You can't beat. I mean, Yale's a good football team. You know, they're always competing in the Ivy League, but 35-14 was embarrassing. So as far as Division II goes, it's wide open. It's probably going to be North Dakota State again. They're looking decent, but watch out for Idaho. They dropped down from FBS, so we'll see if that helps or hurts. But it's going to be a crazy year in Division II. So there's your Division II update. And Harvard, we'll get into the Ivy League schools next week because I've got a lot to report there. I'll make sure that I do a little bit of a segue there. Eric, you want to talk about Clemson? Go.
Yeah, Clemson did the old switcheroo at quarterback like Notre Dame, but this one received a little bit more press. Clemson senior quarterback Kelly Bryant was benched, actually, in favor of Trevor Lawrence. He's a freshman. Trevor Lawrence actually left the game early due to injury against Syracuse. And Syracuse had a lead in majority of this game. Okay, it wasn't until the second half. Actually, I'll tell you, the halftime score was 16-7. Syracuse. They were smelling upset. Mm-hmm. And somehow, some way, in Clemson, in Death Valley, there's two Death Valleys, just so everybody knows. Clemson and LSU, so it don't matter where you play. Everywhere is Death Valley. So Trevor Lawrence left after being kind of 15 for 93 yards, and then Chase Bryce actually led them back, mainly on just handing the ball off to Travis Etienne, who had 27 carries for 203 yards and 3 touchdowns. There was a reason why Clemson won. That's also the reason why Clemson dropped from being ranked second to being ranked third. But Kelly Bryant, quote, "To me, it was a slap in the face," end quote. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. 16-2 as a starter, led Clemson to the college football playoff last year, decided to transfer to another school after Trevor Lawrence was going to be the starter moving forward. So, there's a little turmoil there, but Dabo Swinney had to make the tough decision, and we'll see how Clemson responds. Notre Dame has responded a lot better than Clemson has so far, so we'll see in the next couple of games how Clemson looks as far as what goes on in terms of how do they respond to a freshman quarterback. And
so I want to talk about something here. When I coached at Chandler Prep, one of the years I had a huge fallout with the quarterback's coach, who insisted that one kid should be the starter over a kid that I felt should be the starter. And ultimately, as the offensive coordinator, I was the one that pulled the trigger. And the reason I went with the quarterback that I did over the quarterback that he wanted, besides the fact that he outperformed him in the scrimmage, which really it came down to because they were both pretty even, but it was leadership. It's the little things that you notice around the cooler. It's the little things that you notice in warm-up, in stretches, after practice. The kid was a magnet. When he spoke, he was like E.F. Hutton. Everyone listened. And they respected him, and they liked him, and he was talented. Now, he gets injured, and I mean severely injured, like air vac'd to a hospital, severely injured. We lost him for the year. We ended up taking a knee with him at the end of the final game. That was when he returned from a neck injury, and we had him take the final snap and take a kneel down to kind of get him back out on the field as as an accomplishment. It was a real tear-filled moment. That was the same year my son was born. But the thing that I noticed when the other kid came in was the players, they didn't have that same level of, I don't want to say respect, because they definitely respected him, but they had a level of doubt in his ability. And through the course of the season, he proved that doubt to be understandable. I didn't see a lot of growth. I blame the quarterback's coach, not the player, in that situation, because he was constantly telling him he was great when the kid needed to work on real serious fundamentals. I tried gearing the offense around it, but the father was really concerned about the kid getting a concussion because he had a little bit of a history there, so I couldn't use him the way I wanted to use him. And the players knew that I was dealing with a fragile situation because if the kid got hurt, the parents were going to pull him, and he was only a sophomore. It was a real frustrating moment because not only was I getting pressure from the parents, but then the situation that happened the year before, in the first game of the regular season, coupled with a few things, it was a really frustrating season. But I will always remember the way the players responded, and I wonder, I think that's the case with Notre Dame. When they put in Ian, the players responded. It's almost like they knew he was the better quarterback and were a little ticked off and played like they were ticked off that this kid was on the bench as long as he was. In Dabo Swinney's situation, it sounds like the players were kind of looking around going, what's going on here? And I'll tell you right now, the offensive coordinator felt the same way because the offensive coordinator turned around and just started handing the rock off. That's what I did that year. We had the number one runner in the state of Arizona in our division. The kid was a supreme athlete, and I basically said, I told the kid straight up, I said, you're going to touch the ball 35, 40 times a game. Don't get injured because you're our offense at this point. Because we have a quarterback that can't connect with his receiver. We got receivers that can't catch, and we have a line that can't pass protect. Good luck. That's what I was dealing with, right? So I think it really does depend when you pull a trigger like this. Alabama did it too, right? When Alabama pulled, Hurts for Tuiasosopo, I believe is his name. I might be saying that wrong, but you know who I'm talking about. The guys in the locker room, they know. And it blows me away that a lot of these announcers don't pick up on that. And you did. Credit to you, Eric. You picked up on the fact that in the Syracuse game, the Clemson players seemed a little off-put, confused. So we'll see how this transpires. I agree over the next couple of weeks. Making a quarterback switch is not hard to do if you're going to the popular player. It's really hard to do when you just ask the Giants, when you bench the popular player for a guy everyone knows can't play. At that point, you're handcuffing yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So a little bit of coaching experience that I've had over the years. Part of the quarterback position that you have to evaluate, and Baker has it, is command. Not command of the huddle. That's going to happen regardless because a lineman will backslap you in the mouth if you talk back in the huddle. What I'm talking about is command of the team outside of the circumstances that require him to have everyone's attention. And, I'm going to go vulgar here briefly, but I had a coach say one time that if the quarterback doesn't act like he has the biggest swing and you know what, then he better be an incredibly talented quarterback because the players are looking to him as the leader. So I think that, there's a lot of that has to take part. Really, for a quarterback, I don't know why everyone says it's so hard to evaluate a quarterback. And Eric, back me up here if you disagree. But for a quarterback, you're really looking at, for me, I'm looking at three things. And I've been consistent with this. I'm looking for accuracy. Because if I can't convert third down, I don't care if you have a howitzer for an arm or not. It does me no good if you can't get the ball to your receiver. So that's number one. Number two is command. Command of the team. Do the players respect him for who he is and how he conducts himself? And then thirdly is he has to have the ability to be an extension of your coordinator or head coach on the field. I will take a guy with a weak arm, like a Bernie Kosar, and I don't want to say Bernie Kosar had a weak arm. Weak arm in comparison to John Elway. In comparison, look at Joe Montana, right? Joe Montana did not have the arm of a John Elway, of a Jay Schrader, of a Steve Young, or even of a obviously a Dan Marino. You want those three skill sets. The other stuff is extra. And I will give the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL a lot of credit here. I think all the rookie quarterbacks, with the exception of Josh Rosen, they have those skill sets. I don't think Rosen has command. I think the players are looking at him going, well, what is our option? Sam Ow My Shoulder Bradford or Ow My Knee or freaking Glennon. Like, okay, Rosen. But I don't think people are like, yeah, Rosen's our guy. You know who he reminds me of too, Eric, as far as his face and his demeanor on the sidelines?
Who's that?
Jay Cutler. He reminds me of Jay Cutler. It's I'm bored. Oh, I'm better than everybody else. Can we get over with this? I really don't want to do this right now. I feel like I'm motivated, but not enough. Like, it's just.
Jay Cutler and Josh Rosen have something they do very well in common.
What's that? Be over.
The Arizona stare.
Oh God! Don't they? Don't they? Don't they? We'll get into that when Eric's live and you could see us. We're gonna look at each other with the Arizona stare, so you know exactly what we're talking about. But I think those are the three most important skill sets, and you could talk about arm strength. You could talk about you know arm angles, and you could talk about throwing on the run and mobility. None of that friggin' crap matters. I will take a dude with those three skill sets all day, every day. And you know something? I'll win. I won't just win. I'll win Super Bowls. And you'll sit there and go, but the arm strength. So we'll see how it all unfolds. Games this week that I want to cover. Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. I will leave it to you to cover that one. I want to cover LSU, Florida. I don't know. Oh, one thing, too, on Penn State. Put the ball in your best player's hands at the end of the game. This isn't hard.
Oh, hold on. So, Penn State scores a touchdown, and they go up 5. Go for 2. Midway through the third. Nope, they don't go for 2. Penn State gets another touchdown. They go up 12. Go for 2. Nope, don't go for 2. Ohio State scores really quickly, about 1 minute and 15 seconds. And then they score again. Now, Penn State's driving. Let me just tell you one thing, that Trace McSorley, he's a stud.
Yeah.
Put the ball in your best player's hands. Now, Ohio State went up 27-26, and Penn State got the ball back. They're driving. They hit a crucial 4th down, and then they have 4th and 5 in Ohio State territory, roughly around the 35-yard line, too long for a field goal. I know some kickers, especially in the SEC, who could nail those 52-yarders easily. No, not Penn State. They don't know how to draft a kicker or recruit a kicker. So, Penn State lines up. Penn State wanted to see the defense, so they call timeout. Penn State comes in a different formation, in shotgun. Ohio State calls timeout. 2 timeouts before one play is actually ran. So Penn State comes back out. They run the read option, and McSorley gives it to the running back who is stuck behind the line of scrimmage. I throw my hands up. I'm like, how do you call that? How do you call that play against Ohio State in your own home stadium, in a whiteout where it's supposedly so hard to play? It ain't hard for Ohio State to play, I'll tell you that much. Penn State lost the game. James Franklin played not to lose, not instead of not to win.
What are you afraid of? You're home against a team that everyone knows is overrated. It's in the name. It's not Ohio State. It's overrated state. It's like Wisconsin. Every year, I got to hear how Wisconsin's a top 10 team. By week 4, it's, we're not going to talk about Wisconsin anymore. Next year, Wisconsin's a top 5 team. After week 4. So we're not going to talk about Wisconsin anymore. With Ohio State, people play them scared, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Put the ball in your best player's hands. It's that simple. Anyway, I want to cover this one. I'll let you cover Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. LSU, Florida. It's an interesting game. The Gators are a weird team this year. They have enough talent that I think that they could actually go in and beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. I think they have that much talent. I don't know what's going on in Florida. LSU reminds me so much of the 1980 Georgia Bulldogs. Because I'm looking at that team going, they shouldn't be 4-0. Or they shouldn't be this good. My son is rummaging through stuff right now. Basically destroying. So now he just destroyed it and left. Anyway, but they're what I love about LSU, Eric, is they are playing like a bunch of ragtag kids that are together going, I mean, look, there's no question LSU has talent. I'm not saying that they don't have talent. What I've been impressed with is their ability to play physical, tough. In every game this year, and in my opinion, in 3 of the 4 games, I think they played 4, correct?
Correct.
In 3 of the 4 games that they played, they have been the less superior team on the field. I've been impressed. So what does this mean for the Florida LSU game? I'm not going to be surprised if Florida wins this game because they have more talent on the field than LSU does. But it's a classic example of you got a group of guys playing as a team, and you have a group of talented individuals playing as talented individuals. And I think that in part goes to coaching. I think that in part goes to the chip on the shoulder. And I'm gonna say right now, I think LSU beats Florida in a close game. I think it's gonna be closer than people think. But I got the Tigers winning this one 28-24, and I could see them scoring a touchdown in the final 2 minutes of the game. When everyone thinks they're gonna drive for the game-tying field goal, they're gonna go for the jugular and get the dub.
If it's that high scoring, I'll be surprised. I'm looking at a 16-13 LSU game.
Really? Well, I guess...
Yeah, absolutely. LSU's defense is legit. Their offense has trouble putting points on the board. It's the LSU's defense that sets the LSU offense up. And Florida's still, 50-50. Are they back? Are they not? I mean, I know they're ranked, but I think that they might be over-ranked just a little bit.
I do too.
I don't think they should. I don't think they're a top 25 team.
I mean, if you go by talent, Eric, they are a top 5 team. But you are correct. Performance on the field, I don't think they're a top 25 team. I'd put them at 27, personally.
Well, and I think that also has to go a little along with coaching as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess what I see happening, Eric, the reason why I think it's going to be that high scoring is I think that Florida has those mental farts where they're like, oh, I'm better than this dude. I got him. And then they get burned for a big play. Right? And then, I can make this throw, pick, setting them up for a big play. But as far as Florida scoring 24 points, look, they have the talent. They can score on that Tiger defense. They're that talented on that side of the ball. Will they demonstrate it? I don't know. I don't know. So that's my justification for the score. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 17-14, 16-13, 17-13. But that's just what I think. So Notre Dame v Tech, go.
Yeah, this is a classic case case of this is where game day should be, and they're not. My opinion. But
Agreed.
I think the Red River rivalry is overrated. I think Texas is overrated, and I think they get blown out. And so, having game day at the Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma is not going to do them. Is not going to do them good. They should be in Blacksburg. They should be in Blacksburg where the big action is.
Yeah.
Now, you guys might remember Virginia Tech 2 weeks ago getting beat down by Old Dominion of all teams. One of the biggest upsets in college football history.
Yeah.
They went from being ranked 13th to going unranked, and now they're back in the top 25 at 24. Listen, Virginia Tech has a lot of talent. Their quarterback, Josh Jackson, he's not gonna blow you away and be a legitimate Heisman candidate. But if you watched him against Florida State, and I know it's Florida State, but he didn't let any type of pressure playing in Tallahassee get to him. Okay? Well, the Old Dominion game, to me, in my opinion, was a fluke. They looked past them. They're like, okay, we're just going to go play football and not look at what they're doing, and that's what I really think happened. I think if they would have actually game planned for that game, they would have beaten the pants off Old Dominion. But that's another day. Their leading rusher is Steven Peoples. I mean, he's got 302 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground already.
He's the people's champ.
He is. And then the one receiver that Notre Dame really needs to watch out for is Damon Hazelton. He's got 348 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, Notre Dame's defense has come to play the last couple of weeks. I mean, I know it's Stanford, and they only put up 17 points.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you. That's a big deal. Stanford's in the Pac-12. That's an offensive juggernaut conference. They don't play defense. They play offense.
Stanford does play more defense than a lot of the other Pac-12 schools.
True.
Okay. Now, they were also down 31-17 to Oregon in forced overtime 1.
Right.
And that's hard to do up in Austin State. Notre Dame, I know they're the favorite to win this game, but I would, if I'm Brian Kelly, I'm like, listen, you guys are the underdog. Let's play like it. Now, Ian Book has come on like his pants are on fire. He's thrown for 616 yards after coming on for Wimbush, and he's got 7 touchdowns for the year. Okay? So they're getting it done with the passing game. But then you also look at their running, their leading rusher, Tony Jones Jr. He's got 1 more yard than Steven Peoples, so he's got 303 yards with 2 less touchdowns. So he's got 3. And then, of course, leading receiver is Miles Boykin, who's got 311 yards and 1 touchdown on the season. He's their leading receiver by yards, that is. So they got to get him more involved in the red zone. What Notre Dame needs to do to win this game is run it down the throat of Virginia Tech. And then when you run it down the throat some more, do a little play action, Ian Book gets out of the pocket, where he's been very successful, okay, especially going to his right, and hit the open receiver. Now, listen, it's easier said than done. Virginia Tech is a very solid football team. They have more total yards per game. They have more total points per game. They only allow 2 more points per game than Notre Dame, but this is where Notre Dame's defense really needs to step up with. It's going to be loud. It's going to be pro-VTech crowd. Obviously, they're in Blacksburg. And I know it's not the VTech of old where they had Michael Vick or they had anybody else when Beamer ball was always being played and you could go into Blacksburg ranked number 1 and they unranked and they knocked you off. But this is a game that Virginia Tech watch out for because Virginia Tech is that sleeper, right? They're that sleeper in the weeds. Notre Dame makes any sort of mistake, and Virginia Tech's going to jump. So if Notre Dame's defense can hold, the first couple of drives for Virginia Tech not scoring, and they can get out to an early push in a 14-point lead and then pin their ears back, Notre Dame wins the game.
So
it's going to be close.
What?
It's 30-27 Notre Dame.
Okay, I was going to ask you the score. So for me, Eric, I think it's going to come down to 3 things. Okay, first of all, Virginia Tech's going to have an onslaught. At some point, they're going to start that comeback train. Can they withstand the onslaught? That's the first thing that Notre Dame's going to have to be able to do. The second thing that Notre Dame's going to have to be able to do is I agree with you. Run the ball. But watch for the quarterback to audible to a run out of a pass in key situations that are medium to short yardage distance. He did this a lot last week against Stanford. One play in particular, they went from 5 wide, and he audibled to a running back in the backfield, did the read option, and picked up the first down. Now, obviously, with 5 wide, that's a passing play. So he audibled to a run. That was a lot clearer. The other thing that I think is probably less clear is when he audibled from the single back to the I formation and then sent the tight end in motion. The tight end was on an ISO in the slot position in what looked like man coverage. And he was right. And it was actually the perfect time to call a running play because when he faked the run and he booted out, the outside linebacker for Stanford followed him, which made it 10 on 10. And the running back made the play and got another first down. So he's had a track record of this, and I think that that's going to be key. You know, everyone thinks you audible to a pass play. They've got to be able to audible to running plays and running downs and make it work. That's kind of a way to step over your coach's, play calling and get the right play in at the right time. And I think that they're going to do that. Now, the third thing, and I don't think that this is kicking, special teams. When you talk Virginia Tech, that's Beamer ball. You've got to out VTech in the kicking game, and that's not easy to do. So, Notre Dame needs to make a play on special teams somewhere. Whether it's a holy crap, he kicked that field goal, or a block punt, a big return, doesn't necessarily have to be a touchdown. Win the field position battle through special teams, because I don't think it's going to be 30-27. I could see it being more of a I could see it, I hate to say the same score, but I could see it being, 29-27. That's not much. 28-24. I think it's going to be that kind of a game because I agree. This is, while everyone may consider this an upset, this is Notre Dame's toughest challenge. And Notre Dame fans travel well, but Blacksburg is a special place to play. That's it. You there?
Yeah, I won't be surprised if there is an upset in Blacksburg.
No, me neither. Next week, which I'm going to work with Eric on this. We might be doing a show on Friday. I want a college show, if not maybe Saturday morning, and then post it again. Because what I want to do is I want to take a little bit of time. First, I'm going to give you an FCS update. And then I would like to kind of have me and Eric each pick a team and cover their history a little bit. Because I don't think a lot of people know college football history as well as they should. And why I hate Nebraska. Don't get me wrong, but it feels wrong that Nebraska's still struggling. They need to be competitive because they're a part of college football history. It's like Oklahoma and Texas and Michigan State. So we'll talk about that. But I kind of have some ideas for the next college show. Considering that we've already covered these teams, maybe we can go into a little bit more detail on some of the other stuff. Is there anything you want to add, E?
Just keep your eye on the Red River rivalry for Texas and Oklahoma. Listen, Oklahoma played Baylor last week. This is something I don't agree with, but Tyler Murray was technically suspended for disciplinary actions. He was suspended for, get this, the first series. Then came in and threw 6 touchdown passes. Wasn't even close. Northwestern goes to Michigan State. We've already talked about Michigan State losing this year. Northwestern's a little mad that they lost and blew a 17-point lead to Michigan. It kind of really knocked them off and made the Big Ten pretty interesting, but they go to Michigan State for a tough matchup in East Lansing. I do expect Sparty and the football team to walk over with a victory there. And this game will be interesting in the ACC. Boston College was once ranked, and they were ranked pretty high. They went into Purdue and got their butts kicked. Okay, and Purdue legitimately beat down Boston College. And I'm not saying Boston College is a powerhouse, or Purdue is a powerhouse, or even a pushover, but they acted like it the first couple games of the season.
Yeah.
Boston College at number 23, NC State.
That'd be
Wolfpack. It's always fun when you have a school from North Carolina, not in basketball, but having somebody like that do well. And NC State is actually up there. Duke was, but they fell from the ranks because of their latest loss. Actually, Duke was ranked 22nd, and they were 1-4 in their last 5 ranked games, 0 for their last 4. So we all knew what Duke was going to happen. History repeated itself.
yeah, for sure.
Big interstate rivalry down in Miami, Florida State at Miami. I'm looking at Miami. They're going to put the arrows down through Florida State. I think Florida State goes back to Tallahassee, licking their wounds.
Yeah, there's no wide right in this one.
No, there's not. And then another game that's going to be on ESPNU, and this game's actually early. It's a 2:30 Eastern game. San Diego State at Boise State.
Ooh.
That'll be a freaking great game.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that one.
Yeah. I know I get ESPNU, so I'll definitely be tuning into that. Other than that, the only other thing that I want to add is whenever we do our top 10 next, number 10, until they are actually ranked in the top 10, is UCF. They just keep ranked. UCF plays SMU this weekend, and I expect UCF's 17-game winning streak to go up +1. I expect them to also be ranked in the top 10 very soon, if not this week, then the following week. But until they lose, I want to see them in the college football playoff. They deserved it last year. I just want to see what they can do against big-time programs. And it's not too much to ask.
No.
Does somebody with a one loss deserve to be in over UCF, who has been perfect in their season for a season and a half now? No, it's not. Put UCF in. Let's see what they do. If they get destroyed, so be it. They won't be hanging another national championship banner. And no national championships are won in the college football playoff now. And I like what UCF did. They say, look, you know what? Make us a banner. And they did. And they had a ceremony and they had a parade. And you know what? Nobody's going to take it away from them. College football, the NCAA, is like, well, we don't recognize that. I don't care. You know what? Teams don't want to play. That's not our fault.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, what I like about that, Eric, is it goes back. There's a little bit of history here, and I'll wrap up with this. In I think it was in the 1920s, Alabama did the same thing. The NCAA did not recognize that Alabama championship. I think it was 23 until 1998. Think about that. They didn't recognize a championship that because same thing. Alabama went undefeated. I believe Notre Dame lost 1 game that year to Army. Army lost twice. Lost once. They lost to Navy at the end of the year. So they gave it to Notre Dame. And Alabama was sitting there like, "Hey, we're undefeated," and like, "I don't care." It's like, "Fine, we're champions." And neither the AP nor the coaches poll recognized it. But that banner's been hanging in Alabama since 1924. And it took until 1998, and it was finally recognized. And I won't be surprised. Good for UCF. You know what? I won't be surprised if in less time than that gets recognized. You remember when USC pulled that after they beat I can't remember who they beat. Michigan. They beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, and Ohio State lost to, I want to say, Florida. Might have been that year. And USC said, "We're champions." That was back in the BCS era. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they were co-champions then. So we'll see what happens here. I actually didn't know that. And I'm really pumped that UCF did that. Good for Lane Kiffin. That's Lane Kiffin, right?
No, Lane Kiffin is
Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
Well,
Josh Heupel.
well, good for Josh Heupel.
Yeah, he took over for Scott Frost.
Wow, good for him. Good for him. I'm glad that UCF did that.
Frost was the main reason. Frost had it done. and then this was before he left for Nebraska.
Yeah.
And then after he left for Nebraska, he saw it through. Heupel took over, and then keep winning.
It's awesome. We'll see. I'm going to keep an eye on them for sure. We'll kind of keep our eyes on them. I think San Diego State, if they keep winning, they're going to be a serious team to contend with. I would love to see the Mountain West Conference get an automatic bowl. They used to call it BCS bowl berth. I think they should get an automatic bid to the Fiesta Bowl, the champion of the Mountain West Conference, every year. I don't think that's too much to ask. I would actually like to see the Mountain West versus the Pac-12 in the Fiesta Bowl as an automatic bid every year. I want you.
I mean, Boise State can play against pretty much anybody.
And so could San Diego State. Nevada has had their moments. Air Force has had their moments. I'm trying to think who's the other team. God. I can't think of them. Hawaii had their moment. They didn't deliver. It used to be Utah, sorry. I was thinking of Utah, but they're in the Pac-12 now. They used to be in the Mountain West. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's a wrap. I'm Anthony.
Yep. And I'm Eric.
And go Notre Dame.
And go Arizona State.
Yeah, we'll go with that. So Notre Dame and ASU, right? Forkham Devils?
That's right.
And luck of the Irish. Oh, and one other thing. Roll Tide!